Well, hello everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Today we're doing another fun set of cards. This is Erin Reed from Erin Reed Makes, and we are going to do this fun double fold, and it's got a 3D element on the front fun fold card, and it's these really, really pretty papers. Now, the 3D element we're doing on the front of the card is coming from this pack right here, and so all the other two cards we're going to be doing are also having a 3D element on here that we're going to make together. And I have already popped out. So this is how it looks when it's not even popped out. And then we're going to hint, there's a video next week, and I am not here next week because I'm at a conference. And so there's lots of little bits of scraps that are left over from this particular card set. So as I was cutting all these pieces, so if you can see all these little pieces, including the white sheets, there's so much left. I was able to take all of the leftover bits, because these were all 6x6 sheets of paper that I cut down to fit on all the little flaps, but they're so pretty that I was able to get 5 more cards by just layering up the papers and then adding, because this set really went well, by adding another 3D element on the top there. So what I've already done, and I've already popped all these out, is, for instance, we are going to do, like, this is the one we just did. This is on here. This was this one. But basically, you take all the pieces. This is the main part, and we're going to get to this one in a second. And then you pop all the little pieces out, right? So that is done. So that part is finished. Now it's time to make the base of our card. And all the measurements are down below in the information section of this video. And my table is all wonky. There we go. And now my camera is all wonky. There. Haha. Fixed. Good morning, everybody. Hi. Hillbum's Creations. Nice to see you. All right, so let me get some of this stuff out of the way so I can fit this on here. I've got all my other little doodads just off camera. So the base of your card, and you can do this with one sheet of 8.5 by 11 cardstock, and I love using my Nina white cardstock. So I use one. I cut it in half first. So when you're doing your main part of your card, you start with a sheet that looks just like this, and then take it in here. Oops, get rid of this little piece that's stuck in there. And I use my paper trimmer for everything with just a scoring tool. Don't bother getting a scoring blade out. And I'm not going to do it here, but well, actually I can. So take this first piece, cut it, and this becomes the 2 pieces. And then cut these down. I'll save this for my cards for the extra bits, because I'm going to do that, record that video right after we're done here. But it'll go live next Wednesday. So it's going to be a pre-recorded video for you next Wednesday, which is how to use all the bits and pieces to make pretty cards. So sorry. All right. So you need a sheet of paper that is, make sure I have these right ones. Yeah. So this is the 7 by 5.5. So 5.5 here by 7. So that's this part of the card right here. And then you need a sheet of paper that is 7 3/4 by 3.5. All right, so where are you going to score? Easy. You're scoring at 4 1/4, which is the size of an A2 size card. So we're just going to take this in here and score it at 4 1/4. I don't know why I just flipped my scoring tool. So just come in here and score it. Give yourself a nice good fold here. This is one of those really, really easy cards that it's just about basically putting 2 cards together in opposite directions, but it really has kind of a wow impact. So I'm going to finish scoring this and then score this one again at 4 1/4. That's it. So simple. And these measurements here, in terms of, because this is the base of your card, if you want this top flap to be shorter, once you've cut, like you could do the whole 8.5 by 11 card, fold it in half, and then all you'd have to do, and this is how I made my first card. I just gave you the measurements because I just measured what I had left. You can go in and then trim off. Like if you don't want your flap to be that big, or you want your flap to be bigger or shorter, then just once you've made your card, come in and cut it. You can do the same thing for this. Now that I've scored this, so this is the piece that goes in here, right here like that. This comes in and then that folds on top. So let's say you want this piece to be narrower, right? You don't want it to be, this is 3.5 inches tall. You don't want it to be 3.5. Let's say you want it narrower, or you want it taller. You can change up the height of this. Just don't go past the 5.5. Well, you could, but it would look kind of funny, I think. And then what if you don't want this top fold? So I made this a square. So this is 3 1/4 by 3 1/4. That's why I did that fold here. So I wanted this to be a nice square because the elements that we're putting on our card or kind of a square shape, or it was a circle, and it fit, the size fit for the element I was putting on top. But let's say you have a stamped image that just doesn't quite fit, or that this is too big or this is too small, change it up. There's no reason that you have to keep it the same. So the look of the card looks like this when it's done. And you can see here's this top piece, this piece right here. It goes right there. And then here is, actually, I think I cut this a little bit off. I did. Look at that. I screwed up. Okay, so we're going to have to trim some of our cards. I cut to 3 1/4 versus 3 1/2. That was my oops. Then not when I scored it, but when I first cut my card, I cut it funny. It's okay. It'll still work. It'll still work just fine. I'll just have to trim a little bit of my papers as we're going along. So I'm not going to get rid of this yet, because I will have to do some fixing, because I didn't remember, measure twice, cut once, and I didn't do that. Hi, Millen. Hi, everybody who's gotten on. Good morning. Good morning. All right. So let us do. I already got my little happy birthday stamps. I got these little stamps came from Maker's Movement. I have it right here. This is coming too, but I just loved it. Had this little happy birthday, this script happy birthday down here. This video is going to be coming shortly, but it just had a really cute. So I already stamped and cut that out as our little embellishment there. And then this stamp set came from Simon Says Stamp. Some of the supply links are down below, but I didn't have a chance to grab that. So that I'll be grabbing some more supplies as we go along. All right, I'm going to put that off to the side just for a second, and we're going to do the circle card. And I already have a ton. Here we go. These are all little bits. So basically you have your main element, and I am trying to decide, do I want it like this? I think I'm going to want it with the stem coming up, going like it grows up, right? And you need just foam dots. Now I went through and I pulled all little foam dots that I seem to have collected, and or pieces that I cut out from a previous thing. So bits and bobs like here. Well, this I might actually keep, except for like this piece, because I could still go in and die cut some of this foam for a shaker card. So I might hold off because I got lots of other bits. So the first thing you're going to want to do is you go in and you figure out, so there it is. You line it up exactly. So then we're going to put our little foam pieces. It's funny, foam squares and stuff are one of those things that I always, I use them quite a bit, because especially with these 3D elements or shaker cards or something. And I'm always like, oh, I love using it up. And I always feel, and then I feel like I just get another package from somewhere, or they just multiply, or I make some, because I do make my own foam squares. I had that on my desk somewhere around here. Oh, see, here's another one. Oh, no. Trying to see if I can find them on my desk, but they seem to have vanished. But I do make my own foam squares, but I also seem to get them from places too. So I figure I'll just use up what I have. But to make your own foam squares is so, so simple. You just need the fun foam, the kids' fun foam, and then you can run it through your Xyron. It's so simple. Okay, the next one is going to be, let's see, how does this fit? It's a little bit of finagling to figure out, okay, how does this, aha, so it goes like that. So we're just going to fit this one giant one here. Boop. Just like that. And then some of these other ones come down here like this. I think I'm going to save these little guys for later and use some of these big pieces. So I need my scissors. Oops. So a long time ago, I realized, because I do lots of fabric stuff with felt and things, I have 2 scissors that are identical. But to make sure I don't use my fabric scissors, because they're both exactly the same scissors, these are from Fiskars, I put a little thread on the corner. So not only do my kids already know which ones are my scissors, but now I know, and because they're exactly the same, that don't grab the one with the thread on it, because that is my fabric scissors. And yes, it does make a difference, especially when you start cutting like oddball stuff like this. You're like, oh, I don't want to get my fabric scissors all nasty. So hint to you, if you have a pair of scissors that you like to use for fabric, keep that. I also keep a pair of scissors that specifically are for the kitchen. So my scissors all have a special use and a place, and they don't transfer from one place to another. All right, so I'm just trying to figure out where all the pieces are, because look, there's another one that fits. I think, does this fit here? No, that doesn't. Oh, it goes down here. Making sure I'm not overlapping. Now, some of these elements also have a third layer to them. So I'm thinking this guy actually, does it go here? Does it go down? I got to figure out. That's kind of cool. I like that one. That works for me. And then that one goes there. And that one goes there. Okay, so now I think I figured out all my little bits. So this guy, I'm going to pop up. So just going to put them on, going different directions. So the funniest thing happened last night. Now, any of you ever had a middle school boy as a child? I used to teach. A long time ago, I used to teach. And I taught math and I taught science, biology, chemistry, physics. And I'm one of those nerdy people that likes, you know, doing math and stuff. And so I taught that for a while, and then I became a stay-at-home mom when I had a couple of my kids while I was teaching and decided that's not going to, don't like that, want to stay home. Let me see if I can figure out, how did I put this on here again? Oh, it was like this. There it is. You can find it. You just kind of keep rotating it so you find it. So anyway, my son is taking algebra in 8th grade this year. And he is 14, and your typical, and I had so many of these kids because I taught most of my teaching. I taught freshman biology, also taught some freshman algebra a long time ago. Excuse me. And it seems to be, now it's not always the case. I had definitely a little bit of everything, but middle school boys notoriously are the worst for remembering to turn in their homework. And I remember taking some of the middle school boys' binders, because oops, I forgot to get sticky off that, the binders from them. And that's where they kept it up. And the homework would be in there and probably halfway done or almost complete, or sometimes 100%. They just forgot to physically turn it into me, which I just thought was the craziest thing in the world. So we'd have these days where I'd be like, open up your binders, let's find the stuff. Because I was so tired of, or we'd have, it eventually got to the point where I actually didn't take homework. Anyway, long story short, it became a huge problem, and it still is a problem. And it's mostly middle school boys or younger boys. As they got older, it got better because they realized, oh, this stuff is important. My son has the same problem. He is notorious. He gets really great grades on his tests. So you give him a test or a quiz, he listens to the information, he knows what he's doing, but he forgets to turn in his actual bloody homework. Ah, little stinker. So I've gotten to the point where when he comes home, I'm like, pull out your stuff, let's go through it. And so inevitably, and then now, which is a godsend to us, his homework grades, all of his grades are posted online. So mom can go in to see if son has actually turned in his stuff. And I know I'm not going to be able to be with him forever, but I want him to instill the idea that you get your homework done, you turn it in. And if I can get that ingrained in his head at this age, then maybe he won't do it as he goes older. That's my theory. Sticking with it. So we pull out his homework. Of course, he didn't do, and he, a little white lie. Oh, we didn't have to do the back page. Well, then why would she give it to you if it didn't have to do the back page? I mean, it's just logic. It does not make sense. There's no instructions anywhere on here that says just the front page or whatever. So little white lie on his side. And he's like, well, mom, I just really don't understand what to do. I kind of get it, but I don't get it. I'm like, okay, well, guess what? I used to teach this mess. Let's do this. And he's like, like he can almost try and pull one over on me. I'm like, it's not going to work. Algebra. I'm weird. I'm one of those people. And let me show you one of the problems, just to grins and giggles, just to kind of show you what I was talking about. So it's like factoring a problem like this and how to factor it out. Right? And so it's going through and doing a problem and figuring out the solution for factoring it out. And it had been a while. I had not taught in 10 years. It's good, 11 years, actually. I had not taught in 11 years. And so it was one of those, get it out of my cobwebs of my head. It's like, see, when you haven't done something in a long time, you're kind of like, how do I do that again? And what do I do? And then it became, okay, we're going to have a race. Who can do the problem the fastest? And I started making mistakes at first, not on purpose, because I truly just messed up and I was just not thinking what I was doing, and I was kind of concentrating to make sure he was doing his work. Now we're just layering. Going back to the cards. We're going to layer the cards. Add your first layer down first. And then he would look at oh, mom, you messed up. You forgot to do this, or you put the wrong number there, or you dropped your negative, or did something along those lines. And so it truly became one of those things that because he saw what I was doing wrong, it became a teaching moment because he was teaching me and catching it, and therefore he really understood how to do the problem. So long story short, I got to do algebra last night with my son, which has been a little more reoccurrent than lately. because he's been very neglectful in his homework. So if I sit down with him and just have that, just sitting with him, he knows what to do. He just needs to do it. Little stinker. Sorry, that was a very long, drawn-out conversation about my son. Can you tell I'm venting a little bit here? Okay, so when you're assembling your card, back to the cards. I was just putting little foam pieces on that. When you're assembling your card, what you need to do is place your back mat down first. And I do have all the dimensions for how to do the mats in the information section. So place your mat down first. Then you take your piece right here. So this is this piece right here. Place this here. And then you are going to glue this down. So I just take my Xyron tape runner here. And this is where you're going to kind of play. Do you want your card to be here? Do you want your flap to be up top? Do you want it to be in the middle? I want mine to be a little bit on the south side of center. I feel like if cards are exactly like perfectly like in the center of this and that, it just tends to look kind of funny. So I like it this way personally. Now, you notice the card's kind of folding up and stuff. Over time, if you leave your card folding flatter, it will end up being less poofy. Just so that it has, sorry, all this falls on my desk. Just so it has something to kind of, it's these creases right here. So the more you crease these, the more you move them, the more you bend them back the other direction, the flatter your card will get. And so these little flaps won't pop open on you as much. But right now, there's a lot of, the paper wants to go back to its original form. So that's why it pops open. So it'll get there. Just give it some time. Be patient with it. Now it's a matter of assembling all my papers. Now I found some really, really pretty papers, and I know this is going to be upside down, but I want this pattern to be on this side because when this closes, you can see it. But if I had the pattern here, it gets covered up and there's nothing pretty there. So we're going to flip it around. Even though one of the words is technically upside down, it's not that big. Now these papers are all coordinating 6x6 papers from a company called Scrapbooking, which is out of Netherlands, I think. So a lot of these papers, and except for like the Simon Says stamp, but like these 3D elements are coming from a store called European Paper Crafts, and they bring in all these elements and all these items from Europe, but they sell them out of the United States. You don't have to worry about paying like the absorbent shipping and stuff. All right, placing down, and I've already cut all of this to be of size. And actually, I think I'm going to be okay with the fact I screwed this piece up because I was like, I only had so many 6x6s, and of course I had to cut like this to be a 6x6. This had to cut them out of a full 6x6. This one too, because these were 2 1/4. I could get 2 out of 1, so I kind of shared some of these. I think this came from the yeah, so this is the opposite side. So went back here. I wasn't able to get as many. I couldn't use the other side of the paper. So I had so many like large scraps left over. I mean, you can tell, but they weren't big enough to do stuff with, or screwed up in a cut. That was the other one. So this piece is going to go here, and it is a little bit smaller. And then this is where we're going to put our stamps. You know what? This is the ones that I screwed up on. So look, see, I just shortchanged myself. So we're going to have to trim those too. All right, so we need to stamp this, and I have my stamp right here. Just didn't stamp earlier. And what I did is I found the stamp set from Simon Says Stamp, and it has all these beautiful large words, and I just pulled out "love yourself." I thought that was kind of a cute little sentiment, not sediment. We're not talking about soil. And I'm just going to free stamp this. Make sure I have a bad habit of smashing my stamps in when it should be patting it like I just did. And yeah, if you want to pull out your MISTI or stamp position or anything like that, go for it. I'm just going to stamp it, and I desperately need to clean my stamp block. It's getting gross. And I didn't do the perfect job, but when I'm also looking at the fact of this particular card, this is a very, what I would call distressed, shabby chic card. If you look at the papers, there's distressing in there. So having the stamp itself look a little distressed, I'm totally cool with. I am also pulling out this Nuvo glitter marker. And just to show you, you kind of activate it to get it going, and then it has a really pretty kind of a glittery, and I thought the colors worked well. So I'm just going to line this. Give a little something, something. It kind of fills in the gap because the white was just a little bit too much. But if I went too small in the white, it looked funny against this. So it was one of those, well, let's just try it a different way. And then this was like a leftover scrap that wasn't quite big enough. but we're going to have a little bit of a bigger white. For this card, I went all the way to the edge, so the mat was much, much bigger. So it really just depends on what you're going for. So this one, I wanted to have a bigger white space showing. If you want to add like some stitching or something to the edge of that, go for it. Man, you guys are really quiet today. Not a whole lot of chatter happening. Everybody have a good week so far? All right, so this is where I screwed up and I got to trim these. So one side is correct, but the other side I got to trim to 3 1/4. No, I got to trim to 3. Supposed to be a perfect square, but I messed up. So I'm going to make sure that the circle will go on here because the other one is kind of a square shape. So I think it wouldn't look as good because I want it on a square. But the circle, it's totally cool that it kind of fits on a rectangular shape thing. I think I'm done with that now. All right, so now I got to decide because I have 2 sheets. They're both kind of bland. Which one do I want to have as the backing to my floral piece that's on the front? So let me close this up so I can really get the look of it. So there's this, because I already have pink and then I have that kind of greeny color. So there's that. Now it looks kind of cool, but let me just try the pink and see how I like the pink. Now keep in mind, I already have, there's already pink there, but does that bother me? I don't know. Which one do you guys like better? Do you like it with the pink as the background better? Or do you like it with seeing the 3 colors and then this goes on top? It's just a little bit busier. It's not so plain. You just see a hint of a background. What is your opinion? Do you have an opinion? So while you guys are waiting to tell me the answer to that, I am going to go ahead and put down my little happy birthday. Now I have to decide where I'm going to stick because I'm doing happy birthday cards because we have a birthday themed I'm going to put it right there. I think that'll look right. And this theme for card swaps is happy birthday. So I'm making cards so I can be part of the swap as well. So yeah, I think I like it right there. So I'm just going to stick this. Notice I screwed up on the back. Actually, you know what? I cut that just perfectly. No, I like the one where it's a little bit better stamped. I stamped it badly and apparently I stamped it just in the right spot. So when I cut it, and I just free cut this with some scissors. There we go. Now it's got a happy birthday. So nobody is leaving a comment about what color they like. Fine. I'm just kidding. I'm going to go with this one because I like seeing the 3 colors on the front here. So I like seeing the 3 colors. So that's what I'm going to go with. And then I'm going to place this right here. Ta-da. Just like that. There we go. And then on the inside, so here's the other side of it. Now I have a pop of pink that's on the inside. Otherwise, I would have that yellowy color the whole way. And because I don't want to smash this, I'm going to go ahead and add my adhesive to here. Just like that. And that's how you make these 3D. So the 3D element is coming from the front because this is this really cool 3D element. You don't want to put that on the inside because it's going to get smashed. So you want to have that to be on the outside. So there it is. Super cute, right? So these are the first 2. And the 3D element pack technically did not go with the papers, but as I was pulling out some of the 3D elements, the colors just matched so beautifully. So super cute card. I kept the same layout. All I did was I changed up some of the papers. And as you can tell, like this one didn't have any of the cool like patterns. But the first one I made, like here, I really wanted this pretty pattern to be there. So it just really looks cool. So we're going to do one more. And again, circle element, kind of a rectangular or square element here. One more. Let me show you one more time how to score these. Super, super simple. 2 dimensions of which mine, there it is. Okay. 7.5 by 5 or 7 by 5.5 and 7 3/4 by 3 1/4. And then just score it at 4 1/4. Oops, I'm off camera. Score it at 4 1/4. For those of you that order, score this at 4 1/4. Dimensions are all down in the information section along with links to most of the supplies we're using today. Pop that down. And then it's just a matter of assembling. And I'm going to do the card papers first. Oops, I didn't score this super great. Here we go. I just got to do it the other way. And then I'll do the 3D element at the end. So I already have all my papers. See, look, these are ones where I really made sure when I cut them, I cut so they had really pretty pieces on them. The card we just did was actually the one that had the last, like I didn't have as many papers to pick from because I already cut out all the pretty sections. So I think we're going to put that there. I just think, actually, you know what? We're going to put that on the inside because this is the big pink piece that goes right there. So we're going to put, and you could either go a couple of different directions with this. You could go with all of like the insides all pink or like all one color, or like mix and match it like I did so that you've got a little bit of every color when you're folding the cards. You can see like this one actually had 2 greens, but this one's got all 3 of the colors. So, I mean, lots of ways to do that. There's no wrong way. It's just whatever strikes your fancy. But because this flap right here is completely exposed, I want all of this to be seen. Whereas, I'm going to go ahead and glue this down. Whereas if I did this card, which I'm going to put that right there. So if I put this here, which it's still going to get covered up with the pink one, half of it gets covered. It's kind of a cool reveal, but I like this here instead. So it's just play with it. So the cool thing is you can do a whole lot of cutting. So you can still see that there. You can do a whole lot of cutting. And then at the end, decide, you know, so these 2 pieces are the same side because they're fitting on the opposite sides of the flap. So if you have just a whole bunch of papers, and 12 by 12s are awesome for this because you can get a whole lot more stuff cut out. So it really looks pretty. It just looks cool. I love just seeing those patterns. Oh, now somebody pipes up and says pink. Sorry. I already did it. I missed your comment too late. Either that or there's a big delay. One of the two. I'm not quite sure. Maybe there's a big delay. And if you guys don't mind, I would love it if you gave me a thumbs up on the video. That would be fantastic. Always love thumbs ups. All right. And then, so do I want to do, oh yeah. So I want to do, so look, we're going to have lots of green on the inside, but I don't want to put this piece here because then it's going to get covered up. So we're going to have a really pretty green on the inside flaps that you're going to be able to see. So if you notice, I was able to get this piece and this piece from the same sheet of paper, but you know, it all fits. It all works cool. And then we have just that pop. This is the only one that has, that's the only yellow on the card is that little front piece. I did not realize I did that. All right, and that goes there. This folds open. And then now we have this. And I think I did it on purpose because this kind of bluey color doesn't 100% go with the green, but the green's all on the inside, so you don't see it anymore. But on the front, that still looks pretty. So that was my way of getting around that because, again, these 2 packs didn't go together. I mean, they're not meant to go together, but they pretty well worked. I mean, they did a pretty good job. So now it's just a matter of layering all this up again. So let me get my little pieces here. And then I need to stamp my stamp again. And that's as hard as it, I mean, the biggest time part for this, now that I've already given you the dimensions, so you don't have to worry about that, is just getting your papers cut. But once you have them cut, the cards go super, super fast. And these 3D elements make the card really cool. I'm just adding up I really should do it the other way because inevitably I'm going to screw up and have some of my foam not be on the direction that the flower needs to be. So now it's just a matter of layering up the flowers. Oh no, I'm good. Look at that. I'm good. A little tiny piece there that needs just a little something. But what if you don't have these little 3D things? What if you don't, or you don't like them? Maybe it's not your style, not your speed. You're like, no, I want to have it. Put a stamped image on there. This is such a beautiful space to do a really cool stamped image, or even some words, like a beautiful sentiment can go on the front side of this. There's a lot available that you can put right here. You could also add more. So for instance, with this card here, because this is so plain, you could totally have another stamp. So when you get stamp sets, there's lots of little options of stamps. You could add another word here, another image here, where you have something coming along the sides here. I could even go through, and I have all these little bits. And I'm not gonna, I don't have the right size. Pretend, trying to find, I already have lots of the other pieces Okay, pretend this was longer. You could add another strip of paper, and I would want to have it go all the way through, and then maybe a little sentiment, or have, you know, coming from this direction. So you could decorate up the inside panels as well. I didn't do it on these cards. I was kind of, for the most part, letting the papers, the beautiful, so it's kind of like mimicking this, but with your own extra strips of paper that you just cut out. So that's kind of where you could go with that. Okay. Oops, and then I got to put this on here. Where is my foamy pieces? So lots of options for these cards because you have so many little surfaces. Somebody else made a comment on a previous card set that I had done from a while back, because I just love these cards. They're just so much fun. She says, I started using this method with, sorry, I don't know if you guys heard that. That's the dog moving around. He's in his, he likes to go in his crate when he's sleeping, and he moves, and it sounds like he's just clawing at it, but he's just moving around. So loud. Anyway, so somebody left a comment on a previous video about some of my fun flap cards, these ones that have lots of flaps, and she uses them as like a little mini memory book. So you might make it a tiny bit bigger. Maybe the base of it is a 5x7 or a 6x6, but the concept's the same. And then you can put pictures, and then you put like a little information on there. You can journal on one page. You know, you can have like a title right here. You open it up and there's something else. So there's lots of fun ways that you can use this. That's not just a card. You can have it be totally something different, almost like a little journal. You could have it be like a little journal. You could have it be something where you do a little bit, really cool. You could do almost like make it a total of mixed media things. You do practices of different types of artwork that are not, you don't have a lot of element, unless you, the only thing that you can really get 3D on is the front, because everything else has to lay flat, right? You could do something 3D here and here, but you could have fun and be like, oh, I'm going to try this particular painting technique, and then just turn it into kind of like a little mini art journal when it's all said and done. So lots and lots of options for these guys. So many fun things. Good morning. Oh, is it snowing? So we've got, oh, we've got lots of new people. We've got Maria, we've got Blanca, we got Liz, and we got Joyce. Hello, everybody. And then just lay this down. We got cold this morning. We're not snowing. We did snow, but in Texas, it's very, well, at least in Austin, it's very hard to snow. It doesn't happen that often, even though we did have a snow day and it stuck on the ground and the kids got to throw snowballs. That was the greatest day ever. The kids had so much fun. And then they had to go to school. But the cool thing is, because we don't get snow that often, the kids, the teachers realized how kind of a fun, unique day it is. And everybody got extra recesses for my little elementary school kids. I have 2 in elementary school. Yeah, this goes here. So I got to go outside and do extra recess. They were so excited. All right, so we've got 2 little pieces left, and we've got the little rosebuds, and then this just gets attached. Oh, and then we got a stamp. And then that's it. So much fun. I think these are a great card kit that you could do. Like, you could get all the pieces assembled, throw some scissors and some foam dots in a bag, and take it with you. This would be a really cute travel thing. Maybe make one example so you're not going, how did I make that again? So kind of like I keep kind of going back and looking at the original one and go like, where did I put stuff? Once I assembled what I wanted, and then I've used my original one, but this, it's kind of a fun thing because you're using an entire, if you already have all the colors figured out, to make extra cards and do more than just the one card because you have it all there, make 2 or 3 while you're at it. They're just a little different. I mean, there's no reason why you can't do more than one. I'm trying to figure out how this is arranged. Like that. That's, we're going to go with that. Now my little bits in the trash. All right. And then where am I going to put my, I think I'm going to stick the happy birthday. Oops, I'm going to trim this though, because that is really long. Right there. I like that right there. So if you are also into scrapbooking, one of the other fun things I've heard people say, because you already have all the little bits of things out that you're working on, since you have all the papers and embellishments, everything, make a card. If you're done scrapbooking that particular page, open it up and make a card with it. And you have all the elements right there. You might just have to go grab a sentiment stamp, but then you're done. And what if you don't have the perfect little stamp? What if you don't have that piece? print it out. I have so many times gone to like a Word document or gone into Google Docs and been like, I just want a little tiny happy birthday and I want it kind of scripty and I don't want it to be looking like, for instance, I don't want like this right here. Like it just, I don't know. It just, whatever. I didn't like the font that went with the card. I just printed it out and I wanted it on white anyway, and then just cut it and stuck it down. So it wasn't a stamp. It was actually just something I printed from the computer. Somebody had a question. What do we got? Good morning. Okay. Oh, and foam? What do you mean and foam? Not sure. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out what you said. And you said a Texas low. Today is colder. We are going to get to freezing tonight, which for almost being March is kind of late in the game for us, but that's okay. Sometimes we get freezing at the very end. Sorry, I was trying to read and understand what you guys are saying. I have to turn my head to read my screen because my screen's in the opposite direction of where I'm facing. And I try not to turn around and completely just invest myself into, sometimes the thread gets crazy, which is awesome. I love that you guys are chatting with yourselves and chatting in the threads. Yay, please chat away. It's all a big community. We all love to be here. All right, and then I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna do my little, this one's called Strawberry Bonbon. It's a glitter marker. I just go around the outside, just adds a little something. I mean, you could even, this is what's kind of cool, is you can come in with this glitter marker and you could even kind of come in and do a little bit on some of the flowers here. And it just adds a little bit of something kind of glittery. And so now there's like a little bit of a sheen. I don't know if you guys can see that, but there's a little bit of a shimmer on some of these little flowers now. So it's just a way to kind of spruce them up. And because it's such a similar color, it just adds a little something to it. You could even go in and you could take like one of these little diamonds and you could color in some of the diamonds with it, and just like oddball diamonds. I wouldn't just leave it at one. I would do a couple of them, maybe another one down here. So you can really kind of play with adding a little bit of something different to your background paper. Right here, just something different. I think I need one more in the middle. What about there? Yeah, just kind of a little something. Oh, and maybe this guy down here to even it out. Now I need one over here. Sorry, my eye keeps telling me it looks uneven. It doesn't look like it works. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Sugar. Okay, we'll do this one right here. So why did I just count that? Well, because numbers work better in odds. Your eye likes an odd number. So it looks, so we got 1, 2, 3 layers. It looks good in that respect. So either that or you like it just as a pair. That's the other one that looks good to the eye. And there it is, our 3 fun fold cards. Ta-da! Super cute, with a little 3D element on the front. They need to sit and kind of get there. Like this one's almost there. Look how it lays flat now. That one's doing better because this was the second one I made. I wonder why that one's laying flatter. Who knows? Maybe I folded it more. So really elegant, really pretty, just something a little bit there. Okay, what is it? The sticky foam you're using for the 3D look. It's just foam. So there's so many different elements of foam. Some of these come from kits. There's so many different brands that make them. Here's one that's from Scrapbook Adhesives, and it actually has like a black. They're little squares, but they're black. So that's another version of one. This is one that is a big giant foam piece that comes from Maker's Movement that I can die cut out a certain shape. So this is a piece that I die cut from a previous card, but I didn't use the inside piece for the card because I was using it as a shaker element. So this was what was left over. But then I had die cut anyway. So this is a foam piece, but then I had lots of these little extra pieces because I was die cutting out like around here or something. So this piece was left over. So why not cut it up and use it to foam it up? You can also make your own foam sheets with Fun Foam and your Xyron sticker maker. So there's so many options out there. I think they all work just fine. There's even foam that comes on like a 3-dimensional tooth, and they're all double-sided. So you stick one end, peel it off, and stick the other end. It comes in a giant roll, so you just peel it off the roll. I think they all work great. I don't particularly say one is better than the other. I don't think I found a bad one. There's even some, like for a while, Michael's and Joann's, when they were doing a lot of scrapbooking and stuff, they seem to have pared down quite a bit lately. They would have them in their, at the time, dollar section, but now I think it's the $1.50 section. They've upped their prices a bit. So yeah, it's just a two-sided foamy sheet. This is another example of one. They come as little squares. I've even seen them in the dollar store. This was a while back that I saw them there, but you'll see them there. Lots of companies make them, or again, like you said, you can make them yourself. So there it is. So really cute cards, beautiful, shabby chicy. It all depends. You could go a whole different look with this card. Excuse me, I had a cough. You could go a whole different direction with these cards if you didn't do like the kind of what I would call the foo-foo papers, like all the florals and stuff. You could go with more cutesy. You could go, I mean, think about it. If you did like rocket ships and stuff, you could have all these different like stars and planets. So the shape of the card lends it to do whatever you want. I'm calling it a two-fold fun-fold card with a 3D element. I don't know what else you'd want to call it. A two-fold, because it's two folds, right? Flip-flap card, because it's flippy flappies. That's what I call a flip-flap card. Interactive card, however you want to call those. Lots of fun. And next week, and I mentioned this at the beginning of the video, but I'll mention it again. When I was cutting all these, all the papers that I used for these particular cards, excuse me, all came from originally 6x6 sheets of paper. So I have all of these scraps left over. Let me just take a look at all the scraps, even some that were white, right? Tons and tons. This is my dimensions. Put my nose. So lots of scraps. Well, I was like, well, these are not big enough to put on any of these elements, but they're definitely a decent size. So I was like, I don't want to throw this stuff away. So I'm just going to do it. I haven't made the card yet, but I just wanted to show you a quick, this is how I do it. I kind of take the scraps and I started piling them up together. So this is just a really quickie version. I just started taking elements that were left over. So these were all bits that were left over from the cards. And I was like, I'm just going to layer them up. I'm going to turn it into like a little layered piece. And I'm not making this today, but I'm just going to show you a sneaky peek. This is a video that's going to be recorded next week because I am out of town at a conference. So I'm about to actually make these cards here in a minute. Recorded and then edit, and it will go live next week. And then I just took some of the elements, again, this happened to be a tag that came out of there, and then just layer that on top. And I do have to trim this because it will not fit on a card base, but you will get the idea. Again, I got to glue all that down. But you get the idea. It's just going to fit kind of like right here, and maybe I'll move it so it fits further on, or I might move these pieces to the side, but you kind of get the idea where you can take all your layers and kind of have fun with it. And it's just going to be kind of a white card with a little bit of something. Maybe I'll pop it up into this corner. So it's just this kind of element. So I got to play with it, but that's the general idea. So don't be afraid to kind of take your pieces because you already have them and they're already, and just play with them, layer them up and see what you can make. And that is next week's video. And then on top of that, I found some really pretty flowers that were in the same color scheme. So we'll be adding some flowers to our little cardies too. Oh, so here's the pink one hiding behind it. Gorgeous. So little pretty flowers that will go with it. So those will definitely have a little bit more dimension to the card. And there is always the question, can I ship these? Can I mail these in a regular envelope? Is there extra shipping? More than likely, because there's so much dimension to this and because they're a little thicker than a standard card, it's not flat, flat, flat. I don't think I'd be worried about it getting too smashed, but possibly. Again, so sorry. So there's a couple of ways you can get around it. One, you put it in a padded envelope and you just pay the extra shipping. Two, you go ahead and send somebody a little bit of a care package if you're going to pop it in the mail, especially if it's for like a happy birthday. Put a couple of things in the package or hand deliver it. That's the other way around if the person lives close enough. So lots of ways around that. Thanks so much for stopping by. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up button and share the video. I'd love if you guys share the video with your friends, especially if you know they are into card making. And again, next week, I will not be doing a live, but it'll be pre-recorded about how to use the extra pieces from these cards to make new cards. 5 new cards with all the extra little bits and bobs, and then just adding a few fun flowers. So thanks so much. Don't forget, if you have not already subscribed, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. Bye, everybody.